All right, y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, today we're doing another gear review, and today we're checking out the Agilite Micro Map, or their modular assault pack. Now, you guys already know I've done a lot of reviews for Agilite products, and I'm always a big fan of them. So there's going to be some things that I'm going to skip over with this particular review, and that's going to be the build quality and kind of materials used. So with any Agilite product that I've seen, pretty much all of their stuff, it is very high quality. All the materials are pretty much top of the line. The actual material itself, the zippers, all of the kind of hardware components, all of that stuff is very solid. So I'm not going to speak too much on that because I want to talk a little bit more about the versatility of this particular pack. So I reviewed a lot of products, the K5, the K19, the K0, their AMAP 3, a bunch of products from Agilite. Big fan of their stuff. You guys already kind of know that. Just again, with the build quality, the versatility, the modularity, and also with how well all of these products work together. I mean, a lot of the functionality stuff that they add into their products, it seems like it's almost a no-brainer for somebody who has kind of had that operational experience, who has kind of been on mission. You kind of understand what works in gear, and Agilite just takes that, but also takes it a step further in just making it that much more convenient, that much more user-friendly. And again, especially with like that, I guess, interoperability with all the different products, they work very, very well together. So we'll kind of talk about a little bit of that, but again, we'll also talk about how versatile it is with just using it with other plate carriers, other pieces of gear, and it definitely is versatile. So I have owned this for about 2-3 months now. So I've taken it to the range a few times. I've used it in a few different videos. I've used it with a bunch of different equipment, and I'll kind of talk about that a little bit later on. So I'm also going to be using my general military background to kind of talk about it, stuff that I've seen in other pieces of gear that I prefer that this pack does, and maybe some things that I think the pack could do a little bit better. But yeah, as far as my background, if you guys aren't aware, I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps Infantry. I also specialized in CQB, so I had the MOS 8154 as well, which is CQB team member. So I'll talk about that close quarter battle perspective, but then also I transitioned into the Army Infantry. I did a little bit of reconnaissance as well, so I can maybe add some experience with that. And I'm still currently in the Army. So I have about 12 years of military experience, but outside of that, I also love gear, and I've also played airsoft, which that was kind of before the military, but I also kind of understand what I like and don't like in gear. So real quick, as far as packs that I'm comparing this thing to, it's not like a 3-day pack or a week-long pack. You're not gonna be, surviving really a week with just something like this size. It's a mission pack, a 1-day pack, it's an assault pack. So the first kind of pack setup that I've used in that sort of regard and that sort of capacity was the Haley Strategic Flat Pack. So this is the Flat Pack 2.0. Very similar as far as what its intended purpose is, but again, it's basically a backpack. There's really not a whole lot more kind of versatility that you can add besides just the ability to attach this to maybe other things like a chest rig. This thing has a lot more features, and I'll kind of talk about those as well. I've also used other things. So talking about Agilite products, specifically the AMAP 3, which is their most up-to-date, more kind of multi-mission, or just, I guess, more of like an overnight bag as well. It could be. This is also kind of an assault pack, but this fits significantly more. It's a little bit bigger. You can kind of see that as well. A lot of the same functionality and versatility that you'll see in the micro map, but the micro map adds a little bit more that I think are solid for some of those like 1-day missions. And then I've also had just Chinese Amazon kind of assault packs. You can kind of see here, which again, they're basically used to carry stuff. There's not a whole lot of thought or engineering to make it any more than that. Okay, so as far as the micro map, we'll talk about the actual storage compartments first. So you can see here you have your sort of lower storage pouch. It's not necessarily like an admin pouch. It's got a little bit more space. So if you want, you can have things like flashbangs, and then it fits chem lights pretty much perfectly. So if you want to have a bunch of chem lights for marking, what have you, you can throw that in there. And that's pretty much it. There's no like hook and loop or Velcro on the inside of this pouch. It's kind of just like a slick plasticky material, I guess. I'm not really sure, maybe like a nylon, but it's great. So putting stuff in and out, too easy. And again, with Agilite, oh my gosh, their zippers are just great. And their zipper pulls are pretty solid as well. Okay, so up here you have the admin pouch. So I think I have like a map in here or something. I'm not really too sure. Yeah, I don't know. This is just like scrap paper, but this is like an admin pouch. So if you want to have a map, if you want to have stuff to use for land navigation, compass, extra pens, you have kind of that space there. So again, kind of with the size of my hand, you can kind of see it's pretty decent. I'll do the same with this bottom pouch. So this one is just a little bit wider, which is nice, especially for those chem lights. So having an admin pouch is great, especially for me kind of understanding. It's nice to be like the shooter, the pipe hitter, whatever you want to call it. It's nice to have room for that kind of stuff, you know, breaching gear and whatnot. But once you start moving into leadership positions, or if you're just on a smaller team and everybody kind of has to have like a good understanding or admin capability, I guess, it's nice to have room for that stuff as well. Especially, you know, if you're like an NCO, an officer, it's nice to have the ability to store your basic admin stuff, and that can kind of be your go-to pouch for that. Okay, and then you have the main storage compartment. So let me just release the G hooks here and we can get into that. Okay, and then, yeah, you can kind of see this goes all the way down to the bottom. But yeah, this has the hook and loop right there, which is nice. So if you do want to take like, let's say you have something like this, any sort of like placard kind of material, you can take that as long as it's got the hook and loop, and you can just kind of stick it in there, whether it be flashbang pouches, magazine pouches, something like this. It's nice to, you know, if you're working in a stack, you're working in a small team, for somebody to just open that up. And if need be, also just kind of take that off, throw it to somebody else. It's nice to have that versatility, and it's just nice for organizing, so you're not having kind of stuff like moving around too much. We'll talk about this kind of component Velcro strap right there. But yeah, that's your main pouch. It's got the hook and loop on the back, not the flap itself. Now, talking a little bit more about how this thing can kind of expand to take a little bit more. So here you have your G hooks. So you have 2 G hooks on the sides. You can kind of see it opens it up like that. So if you have a helmet, you could also chuck a helmet here. You can kind of see on the side, and you can kind of see on the side, you have this kind of elastic mesh siding right there, which is really solid, really well done. Looks cool too. Ooh, I don't want to be dropping those. So take your helmet. This is a Team Wendy LTP. Just chuck it in. Take your G hooks and you can attach them to the side there. And again, it's just super easy. You could also, you know, obviously you'd be attaching these, tighten that up a little bit, tighten these up, and that thing is not going to be going anywhere. You could also extend the bottom and make that a little bit even more secure. Right now it's good to go, but that bottom portion also has another use right there. So if you want to have a helmet, that's kind of what it looks like. You just chuck it in the back and it's nice. I didn't think I would use that too much, because like generally I'd have my helmet like just attached to the front of my plate carrier, or I'd just be wearing it, or it's just something that I'm holding and I just kind of chuck along with me. But it's nice, especially when you're in the military, to not have too many moving parts. So, you know, your backpack is attached to your plate carrier, which is nice. You're not having to kind of pick up all these different components. You can kind of keep everything in one spot. So especially for like a reactionary unit, if you're just trying to get your stuff into your vehicle and then kind of suit up from there if you want, or if you know you don't necessarily understand what the situation looks like, if you want to have a backup setup like this, you can kind of keep everything together, which is pretty nice. So you just grab one thing, chuck it, and then you're good to go. Okay, so talking about how that bottom could extend, you just loosen this up and then you can extend the bottom out like that, which is great, again, just for a little bit more secure fit. Or other things like breaching tools, which if you've been in, you know, a member of a stack or a CQB team or just any sort of smaller assault team, and everybody kind of has to hold their own weights, carry a piece of gear that you might need on the mission, whether it be a shotgun, bolt cutters, a sledgehammer. It's nice to have the ability to carry that stuff. With us, when I was in the Marine Corps, we had a bunch of different stuff and it wasn't really that versatile. So if you had a breaching tool, you needed a very specific piece of kit to carry it. We had things like a weapon catch, which was basically just like kind of like a webbing like this, and you can kind of tighten it a little bit. So if you wanted to throw like a sledgehammer, you could. Didn't really work that great for bolt cutters. Didn't really work that great for a lot of other things. So it's nice to have the versatility to carry different things in this pack. So just chucking that in there, and then I'd probably just do that. Tighten the straps a little bit more. You could also secure it as well if you have like other Velcro loops, and then just like that, you can have a nice pair. It's nice to have the ability to carry something that's a little bit bigger, because when you start getting bigger pieces of breaching gear, it gets that much more annoying to find gear to actually secure it properly. Now, if you want a sledgehammer, there is a pass-through you can do in the back. So I don't have, here, let me take this out. So I don't have a sledgehammer, but if you're trying to work on your tally-ho loadout, I guess, you can do that. If you want to bring it back to the old days and carry a sword with you. Again, it's got the pass-through feature, so if your buddy's behind you, he can just pull that out and then tally-ho. That's if you're trying really hard to be the first one to get a confirmed kill in country, I guess, because I'm sure it might have happened before with an NCO sword. But again, if you have a sledgehammer or other gear, you can use that and it's good to go. It's not going to be moving around a lot. Again, since you kind of have it sandwiched in between that, you can be running if you need to. And that was another thing, even with our weapons cache, when you start running, because we did definitely run to the facilities that we were reacting to, you'd have that moving around a lot, and it would either be hitting your legs, hitting your back, hitting the back of your helmet. It was just super annoying. So kind of being able to keep it pretty low center of gravity there, you can kind of use that pass through to help with that. And then it just keeps it nice and snug so it's not moving around as much, which is super annoying. And securing that bottom part is too easy. You just fold it back in, tighten that up. Again, it's one of those things, it's like, it's nice to have it and not need it, as opposed to needing it and not having it, sort of thing. All right, so another nice feature of this is it actually accepts 3-liter hydration bladders, which is kind of an afterthought with a lot of other kind of tactical packs like this. Like with the Haley Strategic Flat Pack, you could fit a bladder, but not really a full-size bladder unless you're kind of just pushing it in there. And with a hydration bladder, you guys already know, those things have a tendency to want to leak if you do anything slightly awkward with them. So Agilite has made their proprietary Sappy tactical hydration bladder, which fits perfectly. It's of course made to kind of fit with plate carriers, but this fits very, very well, pretty much perfectly in this pack as well. So you can just chuck it in there. It would be a little bit easier if it had water in it as well. And then you see we had this Velcro hook and loop right there. You can just hang that so it's not just like slumping to the bottom. And now your hydration bladder is chilling there. And then on the side, you can see we have these ports on either side, which makes it super handy if you're trying to feed the tube through the side, as opposed to kind of just taking this and finding either a hole on the top or just leaving your zipper slightly open and feeding the tube through there. You take that nozzle and it feeds directly through the side. So I'll kind of show you how that looks here. So with me, since I'm right-handed, I keep my tube on the left side. So just find that. You can see there, you just push it through the side. Just like that. And then you can hook up your tube. And yeah, it just works super well. The flow is like fantastic. So you're not having your tube doing all this crazy stuff inside of your pack, or you're not having it getting scrunched up and like kind of like bent. So it's like a pain in the ass just to drink. So this is a great solution. Keeps the water flow good. It keeps everything very streamlined. And again, you have these other hook and loop kind of straps on the side to help secure, whether it be comms, but more specifically for the bladder, it works super well for that. So you have your other strap. And then with, you know, Agilite's awesome K0, you have that just feeding over the shoulder strap itself. Down here, it just stays out of the way. If I need to use it, it's super easy. So very awesome little invention right there. And this just seems like a no-brainer. Like, again, if anybody has tried having a bladder, you just end up not drinking because you're like, well, I should have water, so I'm going to have water on me, or somebody's telling me to have water on me. So I will have that, and it's generally a little bit easier to have a bladder as opposed to a water bottle. But again, it's always like, it was always such a pain in the butt to find one that worked well. So this is just a super cool solution. So comparing it to like the flat pack, there's nothing like that, you know, nothing to keep your hydration tube fed properly. So you just end up leaving it and the zipper just ends up being open, which is not ideal. So yeah, that's really, really awesome. Big fan of that. If you want to have other stuff, for me, I like to have a pry bar just because they're pretty versatile. And again, this is pretty small, so you just generally use the mechanical advantage. If you have like some of those, kind of like these gear Velcro straps, whether it be for like your computer wires, you can also just use those since it has a hook and loop on the back. If you want to have something, you could also just kind of secure it to that, and it makes it a little bit better because it's not moving around as much. So this is something that I keep. And I'll reset it up after this, but I'm not gonna do it on video. So something that I kind of noticed as a bit of a gripe is the zipper only goes to right there. So if you're really trying to get something on the bottom, it doesn't open up too much. I mean, if you loosen all the straps and whatnot, it's still a little bit kind of a pain in the butt to get stuff that's a little bit lower. So it would have been nice if like at least maybe one side zipped all the way maybe towards the bottom, just in case if you need to have something that's on the bottom, it's a little bit easier to get access to it. But it's easy to work around as well. Something that I noticed with the zippers, so again, when I had the pry bar, it was still a little bit too long, so it was kind of sitting like that. So it was sticking out a little bit, kind of have it looking like that. So with these zipper pulls, it just had kind of the rubber coating, which works great, but I like the ability to kind of make sure those zippers aren't going anywhere. So you can kind of see here, I trimmed a little bit of that rubber so I can get to the like nylon paracord underneath. And then I just took one of the S carabiners, and then I can just attach that in between the actual paracord. So now I know that zippers aren't really going to be separating. And the most movement I'll get is pretty much this right here. And even still, it probably wouldn't be doing all of that. But if I have something that's a little bit bigger or more top heavy, I won't worry so much about it falling out because I know I only have this much wiggle room once I do that as well. So a little bit of a modification that I personally like to do, or at least something that I like to be able to do. So all I did again was cut away a little bit of that rubber and it worked fine. Now you can see here, you also have MOLLE going all the way to the bottom. You have Velcro if you want to attach, again, more of like if you want to just throw something right there, you could do that, or you know, patches, what have you, you can do that as well. And yeah, it's just really cool kind of engineering here. It's all laser cut. So yeah, very solid. All of the side panels are accessible or usable. Sometimes you'll have like the sides a little bit too short and you can't really fit anything through it, but not with Agilite products. That is a non-issue. So if you do want to attach more, you can do that as well. And I guess a pretty important thing to mention is how it actually connects to the plate carrier. So it's just got the PALS webbing. So there's no like proprietary zippers you need to worry about. There's no specific clips. It's just MOLLE. So if the plate carrier has the MOLLE or the PALS webbing on the back, you can attach this very, very well, super secure. Now it also came with these straps here, which if you have certain plate carriers, with specifically the K0, it works great. So you can actually attach the top using those straps to your actual shoulder straps, which helps a little bit with the kind of weight management or the balance. And again, it just keeps everything a little bit closer to your body, keeps it from sagging or moving around too much. So that is also a nice option that was kind of included there. So yeah, if you have an Agilite product, again, these work super well. Even on the bottom, you can kind of see this clip here. So it also attaches to that clip or that buckle. Again, just keeps it closer to the plate carrier, keeps it from sagging or moving around too much, just keeps everything nice and tight to the armor, so you're not feeling as much of a separate unit on your back. It basically becomes one entire system, which is great. And I think the last thing to mention is, again, you have these sort of channels here on the side, which are great for cable management. So you're not just having, you know, cables all over the place, having more of that snag hazard. Because especially when you're working in a stack, you're working in a CQB environment and you're going through more confined spaces, you don't want stuff that has the ability to snag. So it's nice to have sort of that cable management, keeps everything nice and tight. Again, nice and streamlined. I say that a lot, but it's something that I'm passionate about because I know how annoying it is, especially with this tube right here. This was like the bane of my existence for a very long time, I guess up until now, having this just kind of all over the place, seeing privates where their tube is just kind of like hanging down, or again, once you start incorporating radios and comm, it just makes it more of a headache. So that is pretty much it. You can see here, again, I even have like flexi cuffs. There is a lot of versatility in this pack. And for the price, it is just fantastic. Again, the build quality is just amazing. The zippers are super high quality, just like, again, they're so smooth. Everything is just very great, very well thought out. And when you're thinking of Agilite, because they are an Israeli gear manufacturer, their customer base uses this stuff and relies on this stuff, you know, for survival kind of on a day-to-day, especially with kind of what we're seeing now. So as far as their customers and their experience, they understand what is needed out in the field and they incorporate that into their products. And they do a great job at it. It's not, you know, haphazardly thrown together. There's a lot of care and attention, and it's great to see. And it's great to have this available to the civilian market so we all have access to it. But if you guys have any questions, especially on any comparison with this pack and other packs, or, you know, just how this works with certain pieces of gear, you can let me know. I can try and answer to the best of my ability. But again, you guys are, if you're in the market for a pack like this, you're definitely not going to be disappointed with this micro map and just Agilite products in general. I can say that for a fact. But if you guys have any questions, let me know. Again, hopefully you guys are liking the gear reviews. If you want to see me add anything else to this, I guess maybe more range footage would be nice. I mean, it'd be nice for me too, but it doesn't always work out just because the weather is not always fantastic here and it's not great for recording. But yeah, it is what it is. But again, as someone who has kind of had the military and also civilian kind of experience working with this kind of equipment, again, I'm pretty particular. So it's nice to just be able to purchase something and not worry about any weird sort of quirks. So yeah, you guys are going to be very comfortable buying this and using it and knowing that it's going to survive and be comfortable and easy to work with. But that is it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you all in the next one.